welcome to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio. All right, man, great to have you with us here. So now you live in central Wisconsin presently, but you've been all over Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. You've had experiences. What's your opinion on the area? Now, for these critters to wander in from somewhere else and be able to get from point A to point B and not have humans spotting them. And then when you get down into the southern areas where you've got all of the farmlands and stuff, you've got drainage all over the place. All these areas are connected by rivers and streams and stuff, which, you know, we've already found out through all the other guests we've had on the show. They like to use those for their travel corridors, like little freeways and stuff. So they can get all over the place in those areas.
Oh, yes. If you get up into the airplane, I mean, it's just miles and miles of woods, you know, in the middle of the sections of land, you know, square miles. It's all woods and stuff, a lot of areas. Yeah. So yes, there is definitely the cover that they need to elude us anyways, you know. I'm seeing two of my boys with me, you know, and they were young at the time. And we all at once said skunk, right? And all of a sudden, just in front of us, a few I don't know how far away, maybe it was close, maybe 100 feet in front of us behind the small pines and stuff. We couldn't see what was over there. All of a sudden, this thing made two whoops, you know, made the whoop sounds, and it sounded just like an ape, you know. And it started running off. Boom! You know, you could still, if you hear like horses running,
right?
When you
get
hear
big
the
impact
shock,
thud on the ground,
the impact when you hear that. Well, anyways, when this thing was running away, you could hear that it had some weight to it, and it was only a bipedal to it. You know, you could hear it boom, 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 boom when it was running away, but there was more of them. So I figure it must have been a family of these things. There was like a creek up, just in front of us up there, with a little bridge over there. And that was another 100 feet we had to go to get to this bridge and went across this creek, a river creek. It wasn't very big, but as we got to that bridge there was this tree that was about 4 inches wide, swaying. So the only thing I could figure was something was in the water, grabbed a hold of the tree to get it, help itself to get out of the water. The only thing I could think of, what made that tree sway like that, you know?
Right.
And when we heard that whoop whoop, that was kind of to the left of us as we were going to the east down this trail. It was more to the left of us, like it was trying to tell the other ones down by the creek, you know, danger, and then they all took off, you know.
Well, how did the kids react to this?
Well, like my kids, my daughter's like, no way, you know, those things aren't supposed to exist, you know. And I just told them, you know, it sounds like that was a Bigfoot, you know. And my younger boy, he was little at the time, and we were by the bridge there, and he's like, let's get going. You know, he was kind of scared about the situation. So then we left.
That's kind of the opposite of what you'd expect. The daughter's incredulous and the boy's freaked out by it.
Yeah.
You sort of expect the daughter to be freaked out and the boy to be going, no way.
Yeah, right. And my oldest son, he didn't say anything. But that was the first time I've actually really smelled them, you know, really close like that. And you know, when you smell this, it comes and goes as fast. You know,
mm-hmm.
It'll come and goes. You know, it goes with them. You know, it doesn't hang around. And to make a point too, skunks don't smell. Skunks, they'll spray and an area will smell for days. You know, and I can tell the difference now between a skunk and one of these creatures. The skunk has more of a sweeter smell to it, musky smell, And these things here are more like somebody hasn't a guy has been working out all day and hasn't put any underarm deodorant on for days, Well, these things kind of smell like that, but it's really strong. But yeah, you can tell the difference of what these things smell like. And when it left and it did those whoops, and then they left. And I knew right away, okay, there's nothing out there that makes those kind of noise. The whoops, and it was loud,
Escape monkeys. You got escape monkeys running around.
Yeah,
It's no normal animals that make anything like a whoop around that area. The only thing that's even remotely similar is a loon, and they don't whoop either.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an encounter, I believe. We didn't see them, but I believe that was an encounter. In this creek here, there's a lot of mussels and crayfish in there. And it's real, it wasn't really, it's not really deep either. But it was a hot day, so they must have been, getting a drink of water and having themselves a delicacy of the crayfish. Yeah.
When you're down on the Blackfoot, there was one of them that was going through the river that was overturning the rocks and basically fishing, and we think that's what he was looking for because there were big crayfish in there. He was probably turning the rocks over, pulling the crayfish out, eating them.
Yeah, right. But that was the only thing I could figure why that one tree there was swinging back and forth. They had to use one of its arms to help it get itself out of the creek,
Yep. And again, that's very typical behavior for them. I know somebody that saw one run up a hill, and he said it's like barely used its legs. It was grabbing the trees. It was a really steep hill with trees on it. It was grabbing the trees and like flinging itself upward, and would grab onto the next tree with its other arm, and its legs occasionally would like touch the ground. But it was like heaving itself up with arm power only. So that'd be typical. Yeah, grab onto the tree, heave your whole body up there just by yanking with one arm.
I'll be darned. Yeah, makes sense. Huh. But
that's an interest. Again, this is one of these cool, interesting details that you get out of somebody that's had an encounter like this, and it's like, well, that matches up with somebody that's actually seen them do this. So again, seems more likely.
The whoops that you do here, it has to mean that, a warning sign that somebody's around, the humans are around or whatever. Let's go. Whoop whoop. Humans are here. It's danger. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and cavemen will tell you that too. That they do that to each other if they're not sure what it is that's making the noise. They'll do it really quiet, like whoop whoop, to just see if they get a whoop back again. If they don't, right away they're like, uh-oh, that might be humans. And it sounds like in this case it knew already for sure it was humans, and it was just one of the other ones.
Right. Well, see, we never made any noise though.
Yeah, not to what you would think is noise.
The only time we made noise is when we smelled them,
Mm-hmm.
And my dog, everybody at once said, "Oh, a skunk,"
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they did the whoop whoop. Then they recognized we were there. There was nobody there at this park. We were the only ones there. We were the only one parked at the parking lot there, and so yeah, we were quiet all the way around until we ran into that smell.
And then they went, "Oh, it's skunk," and they went, "Whoop whoop, we're out of here."
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It was that fast, Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, and that's again, like from what we've been able to figure out, common practice for them. If they're going to be like lounging around thinking there's no humans around or something, they never have their guard down. There's going to be at least one of them that's watching what's going on around the area. And he was the watcher. He was the little sentinel, and he spotted you guys and went whoop whoop. Down the boogie.
But anyways, I'd like to tell you that after we were done there, we went back home to the farm there with my parents there, and we told them about what had happened, And but anyways, And then we decided to go out by, we were talking away about my dad, where he used to live, out near the Beaufort State Game area in Tuscola County there. And there used to be whippoorwills over in the area. And Dad said they did a lot of logging along there, so they haven't heard any for a while. But I remember as a kid where we used to go down these roads, and it would be almost every year they would be at the certain areas, you know. So I decided to take the kids down just to see, you know, if they were there, you know. And so it was in the evening. They start when those things start to make their noise. So we stopped at this one particular place where there was almost every year when I was a kid, you would always hear one. And so I decided, okay, we'll go down here and stop the car, turn it off, and we'll make a whippoorwill sound. Those whippoorwills will call back to you right away if you make a whippoorwill sound. Mm-hmm. And but I did that, and in response, I hear 3 wood knocks.
Oh crap!
So,
excuse my language.
Like a baseball hitting the side of the tree, you know, bam, 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 and there's nobody around, you know. This is a road that's 2-mile stretch. There's nothing around there, and it's all woods and stuff. And what the heck would that be, you know? And so it took off.
Yeah, the whippoorwills knock on trees to signal back.
Yeah, that was that same area. My mom and dad, they did some morel picking, and just around the corner right there, it's just, my dad went to school there on this road, and he had a 2-mile walk to school. And that was the same area he would tell me when he was a kid, back in the 30s and back in the early 40s, that he always felt like somebody was watching him. Walking down that road. It was way back in the 40s. And the same stretch right through there. And but they were morel picking, and they would find these trees that the bark is off these trees. Something took the bark off these trees, and they're bare, you know. Like the top of the tree would be still alive, but the bark would be stripped off down below, you know, a good 15 feet up or so. All the bark would be gone, you know, on these trees. Dad told me about this. I don't think I ever seen that before, you know, about these trees that the bark peeled off like that. He asked me, he says, "Do you know what animal would do that?" You know, I don't know, but you're talking about that same area again where I've, you know, had that encounter with the knocks, and you, as a kid, when you used to walk by there and felt uneasy, you know, through that area, you didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
He says, yeah, when he was a kid, he felt like somebody watching him, and then he just started booking it home, you know.
Oh,
but he also said
that the detail of the morel mushrooms in the area, you know, again, that goes back to what we were talking about before, available food supply. I bet they know exactly when the morels are up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the morels, you'll find them underneath elm trees, you know. Mm-hmm. Elm trees that are died the year before or about to die. That's where the morels you'll find them. Is when these elm trees start to die. That's when the morels will come out. But Dad, he said he had, you know, it was a 2-mile walk to school. But he remembered back in those 40s, he remembers he thought people were, what the heck is somebody chopping wood late at night, you know?
No kidding, right? That's really
And I remember him saying that for years, He says, yeah, there used to be a crazy nut out there. He used to chop wood at night, in the summer.
This is a 3 o'clock wood chopping hermit out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. And then back in the day, there wasn't very many houses around in that area, And but now,
we're talking about Michigan here. That's where you were when you were a kid, right? Michigan.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I was just looking at their database today, and I was interested to see that they've got actually not only the modern day reports and stuff, but way back before there was Northern California Ray Wallace and even the term Bigfoot. They had an actual Bigfoot report that was reported in the newspapers all the way back to 1938.
Yeah. There's in that area, even like down in Monroe County down that way too, back in the days of the, during the War of 1812, French soldiers have documented them of seeing these things in lower Michigan there,
Yep.
That was way back in 1812, during the War of 1812.
Yeah, if you go according to the reports of the Voyagers and the early lumberjacks and stuff, they had all kinds of sightings of this stuff that got passed off as drunken voyagers, crazy lumberjacks, and nobody paid any attention to it. And that goes way back into the 1700s. There's a newspaper article of them capturing something that described exactly like it was a gugly, 200 miles north of Lake of the Woods in Minnesota in 1780. So it goes back way, way, way far back in this area.
You look back in the day, the whole thumb of Michigan, it used to be a huge pine forest at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, the Cass River, where went through Tuscola County there, they used to have big runs of sturgeon going up those rivers,
Yep.
Back in the day. And you had pines that are 200 feet tall, these white pines. So you had conditions that were similar to what you have out in the Pacific Northwest. Same kind of conditions. You had the fish, you had the big forest.
Yep.
And
actually, all of northern Minnesota was originally that huge white pine forest too. There's still like a 40-acre chunk of it left, but they cut down all the rest of it. When I was there in the 60s, there were still logging trails left from when they had done that 100 years previously. You could wander around the woods and find these ancient logging trails and corduroy roads they had made for extracting the timber and whatnot. And the house that I grew up in had 2 of the white pines still standing in the front yard. And I got a picture, so I'll include that, so everybody can look at what he is talking about. But yes, this whole area was all gigantic pine forests, just like you think of like the sequoias or the redwoods on the West Coast, and with the big ready supply of fish and the whole thing. And that's what the area looked like. So no surprise that they were there. And then there's the tie-in with Bigfoot in just about all the areas that they're in have a preference for pine forests for some reason.
Right.
It could be because they're evergreen, even during the winter. They're like cover, the leaves don't fall off, so there's always something to hide behind, sort of thing. We don't know for sure, but they seem to like to be, if pine forest is available to food supply and stuff, it seems like they'll pick that over preference to a deciduous.
It's just like up here in central Wisconsin, there's a county, Menominee County, the Indian Reservation, Menominee County, and that's a forest that has never been touched, They just specifically take what they need out of there. And you have white pines in that area that are about 170, 180 feet tall.
Nice.
White pines. The whole county, And if you look at a map, a Google map, you could see the outline of that county. It's all pines, Menominee County. And,
that's why they're so poor there. They never made any money from logging it, cutting down all the trees, and so the county got the name Me No Money.
But,
sorry, cheap shot at Wisconsin there. Sorry, guys, love you.
Yeah, but beautiful place though. They got the Wolf River that went up through there. Same scenario. And the Lake Winnebago, which is just a few 100 miles south of the county, Menominee County, the world's largest sturgeon. The sturgeon that come out of Lake Winnebago is the largest population of sturgeon, healthy sturgeon in the world. Every year in the springtime, you can go out to these certain areas. They got people that stand along the shoreline to protect these things from poachers and stuff. And they come up. These fish are 6 feet long, 60 to, a couple 100 pounds, these sturgeon. And, but they only can go up to the Shawano Dam. There's a dam they built there during the logging days. But before that, those fish used to go right up north to that county, of Menominee County. Mm-hmm. And, but what I was getting at Menominee County, there's a lot of reports out that aren't reported, but there's a lot of sightings in that area, and it goes back what I was saying before, lots of fish back in the day, lots of pine cover, yeah. And there's still a population of them still there because of that habitat in that county.
That's just super interesting. I hope that we've opened up people's minds a little bit about this whole area of the country, because the Upper Midwest definitely has Bigfoot in it. I've had 3 what you would call Class A sightings in my life. One of them was here in Montana. 2 of them were in northern Minnesota. Okay, so I know for a fact there's Bigfoot there. There's no question. They're absolutely positively there. I've seen them. So,
well, as the years gone by, I got more and more interested into this subject. And I did take a trip out to Menominee County because I was interested about this on the BFRO website there. They have a report from that Menominee County about a couple of police officers they had an encounter there back in 1967. Mm-hmm. And they had told about this thing that intimidated them, and they went back into this area back in there to find this lake back there they want to do some fishing in, and they got chased out by this thing, and they said it sounded like an elephant, and it was pushing over big trees up on this ridge above them. They could see this thing pushing over trees. They were 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches in diameter, pushing trees over as they were getting the heck out of there. They could, for about 200 yards, they said they seen this on the ridge. This thing was pushing trees down. And when they got home, they figured, what the heck was that? Was it like a escaped elephant or
some kind of an angry half-drunk bulldozer?
Yeah, they didn't know what it was, until they had mentioned in that report that they had seen that show of Ancient Mysteries of a Bigfoot, an Ancient Mysteries of Leonard Nimoy and In Search of or something like that. The show was?
In Search of, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Back in the 60s, it would have been after that. Yeah, it was probably In Search of, because that would have been the first one that he did after that.
Yeah. Yeah, in their report, they give an account of what this thing sounded like. And it was exactly what I have heard when I was in central Wisconsin here. When that thing yelled at us, it was the same thing that we heard. It's just a sound that it vibrates. When it gets close to you, it'll vibrate your body like a bass. If you go to like a concert or something like that, you're too close to the speakers, and you feel that bass hitting you. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what that feels like. That's the way those things sound like when they're pretty close.
Oh God! All I can do is just thank God I've never had to have that happen. All the tons of experience that I've had Bigfoot related and whatnot, very few of them have anything to do with the vocalizations. I've never actually been there to hear them do the T-Rex roar, or scream, or any of that kind of stuff. All I've just ever heard of is, recordings offline and stuff. Everything else, you had tons of experiences. But, up there where I grew up in northern Minnesota, they didn't make any vocals. If they did, they were just mimicking other animals, because I never heard anything that sounded like any of the Bigfoot calls that I've heard subsequent to that, ever. So maybe that's why, people, it's just another reason that they're not tipped off to the fact that they're around, because they're like, well, they're supposed to be making these howls and whoops and stuff, and it's like, well, maybe they're not doing that in that area, because as sure as I weren't doing it where I was living, and there were signs of there were tree structures all over the place. So, obviously they were there, but you never heard them make any noise that betrayed that they were there.
There was a time a few years ago, I lived in this other town just south where I am in central Wisconsin, and I heard this owl outside, and it didn't sound, it sounded like a big owl,
Like a forest.
And yeah, it sounded like a big owl. There was a park across the street where I lived, and then it was the river, the Wisconsin River was over there, and there was some islands out there and stuff, but it was coming from that direction, this owl sound, but it sounded big, a big owl. Well, I didn't tell you this one, but the next day I was going out to the car, I saw a handprint on my car window, and it was like somebody with muddy hand touched the glass of the back window. It was big, it was bigger than a human's hand. But that was that same night I heard this owl sound. So I'm wondering, that could have been what it was then,
Oh,
I
sure.
don't know.
They're really good at it. They're good at copying animal sounds too. Me and the drummer from Swamp Ritual, of all people, had both been up in the same area up in Patty Canyon and heard the same sound like 3 or 4 years apart, and then got on the subject and compared notes and went, oh my God, you heard that too? And neither one of us could figure out what it is, because we were thinking, well, in the area that we're in, this has got to be some kind of a local bird or something. It just sounds really weird, because you're partway up the mountain. There's no water around there, but it sounds like a bullfrog that's like 500 pounds, making a bullfrog croak every so often. So it's so out of place in the environment. You're going, what in the hell is making? I'd hear it like 4 or 5 times before I even started to have any kind of a clue as to what it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was something sounding like trying to make a frog croaking type of sound, but so ginormous and loud, it was obviously probably was coming from the other side of the canyon. So it's like, well, what's doing that? And it would be like every couple of minutes it would do one. Right.
But that was, it was kind of odd to hear this owl that sounded way too big, the noise.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? It was just sounded like it was too deep and loud.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they get the sound really close, or almost perfect or something, it's like somebody's playing it through a loudspeaker or something, because it's just way too loud to be the actual animal making it.
Yeah, but then I saw the handprint on the back of my window, and it was big, and it looked like, it was muddy. Whatever it was, it had a muddy hand. It was big. I mean, this thing was big. If you put like a baseball glove on your back of the car, about that size,
That's about that size. Like the catcher's mitt, huh?
Yeah. That's about it. I knew that wasn't some person's hand, but it was like somebody put their muddy paw and muddy hand on there,
Wow.
But that was the same night I heard that owl sound. But I didn't put two and two together, until later, maybe. I don't know. But
I was just going to say that's the way it is with a lot of this stuff. When you get enough information on it, you can put these weird incidents together and go look at them and go, oh, that might have been a Bigfoot or something, because here's this. It's all been attributed to Bigfoot in other areas and other encounters and stuff, and this all happened to me.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, can I go into talking about when I was a kid growing up on the farm?
Please do.
Yeah, after years of these encounters that I've had, there's another encounter that I had with these things with the kids and their mother living north of this area, and not too far away. But anyways, they had rented this house out edge of town, and one night in the winter there, I came over and I smelled that smell again. Late at night, 10 o'clock. I guess the neighbor just behind them was feeding deer. This is wintertime. He was feeding deer back there. And apparently there was one set up in that area. Because that summer, in the springtime, they heard this something killing a deer across the road from them. They had called me up and told me about it. And it didn't sound right. Something was killing a deer. Making all kinds of noise it was. Anyways, winter came around and I came over that one night at 10 o'clock at night and I smelled that smell again. There was one set up there stalking those deer, hunting those deer.
Yeah.
Waiting for the deer, go across the road, just waiting.
Opportunistic. He knows where the deer are going to and where they're going to be going.
Yes, I don't think that thing, came across. It kept waiting for those things, the deer, to go across the road, and that's where they went to the north, across the road. That's where the deer were coming from and going to. It was hiding, waiting, stalking them. But it was close. I could smell it. That same smell. But I knew there was one there, and I had told them about it, but they didn't believe me, No, they didn't believe me at all. But,
what else have you got over in that area that will even take down a deer? Do you even have any mountain lions over there? Are there any cougars over there?
Oh yeah, we just had a couple of sightings of cougars in this area just recently. They've been spotting a lot of them now.
Cool.
In this area.
I don't know, not cool, but yeah.
Yeah, they're around. They got them on cameras. There's getting to be more and more sightings of cougars around here. They figure they've been coming from the Black Hills area, males. There have been filtering into the area.
A long time ago. They're coming over from there at this point.
Yeah, but we've got. There was one girl that I know. She was going to work. She worked for this. So she was like an in-home nurse or whatever you want to call it. She took care of somebody in their home, but she was on her way to. She was on her way to her house. She drives in her driveway, and there's one sitting in her driveway, a mountain lion sitting in her driveway.
Oh God!
And she goes, I almost peed my pants. He said. She said, I didn't want to get out of my car, but yeah, she had mentioned that she pulled in there, and there it was. And people are posting pictures. Is this what you saw? No, this is exactly what I saw. And that happened this past year.
Yeah.
Last year, I should say. Yeah, they got them around.
Cautionary tale for everybody that's living in cities and isn't aware of what's going on elsewhere. In some areas, the wildlife in the wilderness is actually coming back, not disappearing.
Oh yes, we just had a moose sighting just north of town here, Roman Marathon County. We had a moose, and it filtered down from the UP of Michigan. And we're getting more and more different types of animals. We had a couple times. We had elk. We got elk now in northern Wisconsin.
That's really cool. When I was a kid, we didn't have any elk anywhere around there. Minnesota, Wisconsin, none of them had any. So it's cool to see if they're coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, northern Michigan, they've had elk there for years, you know.
Yeah.
They got a big, healthy population there in northern Michigan there.
Yeah.
Around
for a
the
while there, northern Michigan, Upper Penn and northern Minnesota was about the only place there was any moose when I was a kid. The rest of that area, there wasn't any.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, they I think it was in the 80s. I don't know what year it was, but maybe 86, I'm not sure. I think that's when they had purchased some 25 or 26 moose from Canada, out there in Ontario, Canada, and brought them over into Wisconsin. They're doing pretty good now. So.
Well, they should be. Northern Wisconsin's perfect for them. God, it's like, why aren't they living there? That's an ideal place for them to be.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of cover up there. You know, the woods is huge.
And
but
moose
anyway,
are cool, except for when you get too close to them, and they're kind of like self-propelled bulldozers sometimes. But
yeah, all the wildlife, it's all coming back, you know, all that stuff.
Yep.
But
no surprise in an area where you've got elk and moose and mountain lions and things like that, like maybe there's Bigfoot here. Oh, surprise,
right.
surprise.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, years later now, I know now what to look for or what they smell like. I can drive down the road now, and oh, okay, that's a skunk, you know, and go further down the road somewhere else or whatever. Oh, there's one, you know.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm getting to my next encounter, the real actual sighting of one of these things. I was coming back. This happened here, Easter day after Easter of last year. I was coming back from Michigan, driving. I drove through the UP of Michigan. I was coming back down, going down 35, and I hit 41. It's going south from Marionette. It goes towards Green Bay. And I got off at the exit of where Abrams, Wisconsin is. And that's off of one. It gets on, 41 gets out, you get off, and you get on 141. And as soon as you get on there, you get off on County Highway E. And it takes you to the west. Well, not more than a mile and a half, I started smelling that same smell, you know. I was like, geez, there's one around here. So I was looking around, you know, looking both sides of the road. And I looked to the north, and there was this field, about 20 deer in there, feeding in this green wheat field. You know, just winter wheat field. And they're eating it. And as soon as I looked there, I looked to my left, to the south, and there was two of them sitting. One was kind of like kneeling down, like on its haunches, and the other one was just standing there. The one that was on its haunches was looked like a gorilla, you know, barrel shaped. Its head was kind of conical. It was big. And then the one standing down there looked more skinnier in the waist, but it had huge shoulders and huge legs, what I remember. And but that barrel shaped one, it was kind of more like black, but it had like brown tint to it, to the tips of the hair. And the one standing had the same thing in the middle, same kind of hair, but its arms and its legs were more of the color of the dried grass around it. And its head was kind of like a sheepdog's head, you know, with the hair coming down over its eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. And I was going about 60 miles an hour, and I seen that. Well, I had to turn around. My phone was kind of sitting by me, and I'm like, God, I got to take a picture of this, So I turned around, and I got back, and they were gone. Son of a gun.
How far away from them were you when you went blazing by them?
They had to been about 150, 180 yards from the road.
Way, yeah. Well,
it was good enough. It was close enough where I could see the shapes of them really good, but
right.
I could not get really, really good detail on them,
Right.
But I could see the shapes of them real good.
Yeah.
But
you could sure make out what it is, but you couldn't see the close-up detail on it.
Right. Yeah, I could tell there weren't no, they weren't bare,
No.
But that one was, it was on the haunches, with its arms dangling to its side, and it was just like a gorilla when it sits down, It was kind of just sitting down like that, But the other one was standing next to it. And they were big creatures,
It's probably be hard to guesstimate. Do you have any idea how tall the one who was standing up was?
I think the one that was on its haunches was bigger than the one that was standing. To tell you the truth,
yeah.
the bigger one was like a big barrel, but that one there was on it. I wouldn't know how high, but it just seemed like it would have been, because when it was on its haunches like that, its head came up to like the middle of the chest of the other one.
Oh God, yeah, it was way bigger than. Well, the other one that you were looking at was built like a heavy-duty bodybuilder-ish with and everything. But did he seem like he was more or less human-sized, or did he seem like he was bigger or smaller than a human?
Oh, he was bigger than a human, that's for sure. He was bigger,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, God, I don't know, 7, 8 feet.
Wow.
That one that was standing.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Because then the one that's like squatting down next to him, you can add like at least a third, if not more, of the height of the one that was standing up onto that one.
Yeah, probably another third. So it could have been 9, 10 feet tall. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And that's how the big ones are built, too. They're like gigantic, squat, massive. I almost walked into one. It was about 8 feet away from me. And it was 6 feet tall, sitting on its haunches looking at me. I was eye level with it when it was sitting on its haunches. And its shoulders were about 4 feet across.
Yeah, that's probably about the same size as what I saw.
Yep.
I would imagine something like, those dimensions.
Yep, and that's a big boy. And you could just easily figure out what they were doing. They were watching those deer. Here comes dinner.
Well, see, the deer couldn't see them because there was a field on the north side is where the deer were, and it opened up again to another field to the south, but it was like the edge of the field to the west of that field where the deer were at was another woods, and then to the south of where the deer were eating there was woods, but then it opened up into another field, so the deer could not see them things in the corner over there. The deer could not see them, so they had no idea that. But I smelled these things way back further before I got to that area, so the wind had to have been coming from the southwest.
Carrying their stank on the wind so you could smell them.
And so these deer could not smell these things.
No. They're downwind of them.
Yeah.
Hey, I know at that distance it's not going to be that easy to tell or anything, but kind of curious how long their hair appeared to you. Did it seem like it was like 3 inches long, 5 inches long, longer than that?
I really couldn't tell, but it seemed like it was long enough where you could see that it was long, wasn't, you know, it's 3-4 inches.
Shaggy looking.
You know? Yeah, you know. Especially the one that was standing, it had some really straggly looking hair on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it had the color of the dry grass around it, for its legs and its arms, but it had the same color as in the middle of its chest area. It had the same color as that one that was on its haunches. Same color. You know, it was black with the kind of reddish brownish tint to the tips of the hair, you know. It was kind of that kind of color. But it seemed like it had longer. That big one, the one standing down there, seemed like it had longer hair on its arms and its legs, and maybe shorter in the middle. That makes sense. And it had that hair that came over its eyes on its head, and then its head wasn't more conical. It was more rounder on its head. The one standing. That was kind of different than the one that was kneeling, that was on its haunches. Down there had a more of a conical head, you know, than the one standing.
I'm just kind of curious about the length of the hair, because that's, you know, sort of the same general region as where I saw the first one I saw back in '72, and I couldn't see most of his body. He was hiding behind a pine tree, but I could see his face and I could see his shins, and his shins had really long hair on them. It was like shaggy looking. It was long.
Yeah, that's the way this was too. You know, longer. But in the middle of its chest area, it seemed like it was shorter. You know, around its waist, but like the arms and the legs. I don't know what the back looked like, but I didn't see the back. But
yeah,
the legs and the arms were longer than what was in the middle of the torso, you know. So, but I had, you know, I looked at them long enough, 1,000, 2, 1,000. I seen them long enough where I knew what they were, you know. And so I turned around and tried to get a picture of them off my phone, and by the time I got back, they were gone.
Of course. They're good at hiding. So how did it feel to actually see him after all these close calls over so many years?
Well,
finally, like, boom, there it is. You seen him.
Well, then I really got in. You know, for the subject of Bigfoot, I really got into the subject as a whole. Now I know, okay, they are real. They are a real creature now. And and this changes your life, you know, when you see these things. You can go out to the woods, and you know you're always looking around, and you're more, you know, what's around you in the woods. You know, you're always looking for signs of these things. Okay, you know, because you know what they smell like, you know what they sound like, and what they do, you know. And a lot of your shows and stuff, you see pictures of what they make, and you know these tree structures and stuff like that. You just you're more aware of their habit. Their habitat, their habits, and you know, you get a big picture of what these things are. You know, it's coming together now of what these things are all about, and what they do, and how they do it, and what they eat, and you know, it changes everything once you see one of these things and realize they are real. You know,
yeah.
Once you see these. Otherwise, you know, it was close, but was it that, you know, or, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, being a believer, just on the face of the evidence or citing reports or what my friend saw or something, okay, I think I'm a believer. I think there could be a Bigfoot. That's a completely different mindset than, okay, I saw one of the damn things are real. Trust me, this guy. It's a completely different thing.
I just like when I ran into these things when they were screaming at us, I still,
You still could, there's plausible deniability. You could still convince yourself that it could have been something else. Maybe it was like a moose in heat or some other weird animal that I've never heard before. It could, you keep trying to convince yourself could be something else. You were just mistaken or whatever. But then when you actually see one, and you know for sure that's what it is, that all goes out the window. You ain't convincing yourself anymore. You know it's real then.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, it changes everything. Now I go hunting, I'm always, okay, I'm back in my mind now, these things are out here, and, but you got to think, okay, I know what these things do, blah, blah, blah. So you always got this in the back of your mind now. You're always cautious about things. You're going into the woods, and you're looking for these things, Right. And before, you had no clue that they even existed, And the only thing you worried about was a wolf or or cougar or something,
I think the hunters and stuff especially should at least be made aware that they exist, and here's the warning signs. So if they're in an area and they're getting screamed at or something, hey, that's a warning sign that you're in a Bigfoot's territory and he wants you to leave. If you don't know anything about Bigfoot or that they're real, you don't know that. You can end up getting killed because of that.
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
A huge X structure here with a leaner on it. That's just a natural thing. Well, no, both those trees are upside down. They're full-size trees. Oh, but I'm just going to ignore that because there's no such thing as Bigfoot. Where now, if you knew that there was Bigfoot and what that meant, you'd be like, oh, crap, territorial marker, don't go past this. Okay, I won't hunt over there. Problem solved, no conflict. So there's a lot of conflict, I think, between Bigfoot and humans is caused by the powers that be unwillingness to let people know that they exist so that we can know something about them and avoid having conflict with them.
Right. Well, look at all the 411 missing people in this country. What happened to them, Nobody knows.
And it's always like, oh, no, if people know Bigfoot are real, they won't go out in the woods anymore. There's people out in the woods that are trying to prove Bigfoot is real by going out there and shooting one, okay? It's not going to stop people from going out in the woods.
No.
There's people that go out in the woods and backpack and hike and camp and everything else in areas infested with grizzlies. It doesn't stop them from going out in the woods. So that's all BS. That's a BS argument. And as far as the logging argument goes, that's a BS argument because we haven't had doodly for logging in this country outside of the hardwood forests for 10 years now because it hasn't been economically feasible. Because Canada decided to put a 20% government subsidy on their logging, which meant that they can produce wood cheaper than we can cut it down and produce it for inside of our own country. So we ship it in from Canada. So all these forests out here that everybody thinks are getting cut down, they haven't been getting cut down for 10 years now. That's why they're burning down, because nobody's pruning them back and getting rid of and making fire lanes or anything. So one giant forest connects right to the other one. You start one on fire, they all start burning down. You get 2 million acres in Montana burning down in one fire season. That's why it's happening.
You guys
so
really
okay, tourism, it's going to kill tourism. Nobody will go out in the woods anymore. That's BS. Oh, and it's going to kill the logging industry. More BS. Until Trump just changed it and put a 20% tariff on all the Canadian wood so that it's no longer economically feasible to ship into the country. Hey, we can make it cheaper ourselves now. We weren't cutting anything down over here. So where's all this, huge money that we're going to lose on tourism and wood farming that we don't have, that's just a BS argument.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like right all along the Wisconsin River, we got, there's a lot of paper mills. We got a couple in the area around here, but those trains are bringing those train car loads of pulpwood down. Huge trains. bringing them down to these paper mills. And I've seen where they had a place up there in the UP where the trucks come and drop them off, and then the railroad then they'll load them up onto the railroad cars up there. And this place is huge. I mean, I don't know, 100 acres or so, all wood, you know, and getting loaded up on these train cars, you know, but and sent to the paper mills. But that's
we don't have that out here. We don't have that's wood suitable to be made into paper. We don't have that, so that's not going out.
Yeah, they mainly use that popple, you know.
Yeah, this is what we consider to be like junk wood. Yeah, it's popple. It isn't good for anything other than burning in your fireplace. You can make paper out of it, and it grows back real fast, so no big deal.
Mhm. But that's what grows up there in the UP. That and the pine trees.
Yep. That's pine trees which really don't grow fast, and they shouldn't be cutting down.
Okay. We touched on a little bit on that on the subject of, you know, the smell and all that stuff, but that last encounter I had with those two Sasquatch over by Abrams, over by Green Bay, you realize you get hooked on the subject, you know, after you've seen it, you know.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of listen to a lot of shows, and now that I've seen them, you know, and try to get as much information I can on these things, and then after hearing some shows, and I'm like, wait a minute, when I was a kid, I've heard these things, you know, some of these people, they were saying this and this and that. I was like, I had this happen when I was a kid, you know.
You get that light bulb goes off above your head moment. Ding! Oh my God, that happened to me.
Yeah, you know, and you know, back in the 70s, and I grew up on a farm there in Michigan. There, back in the 70s and early, you know, in the 80s, there, it was different back then. There was many more farms. They were still operating small farms, and so everybody, you know, a lot of farmers had a lot of kids, and this is back in the 70s and in the 80s, and but in our area there was quite a few small farms in the area. Everybody, all these farms had, you know, they had chickens, they had cows, they had horses, and you name it, you know, on their farms. And there was a lot more woods back then, too, in the area. Lots of more woods. And now, you know, a lot of these big farms, they had cut down a lot of the forest, and they have cut all the woods down around the drainage ditches, so they can have their irrigation systems to go through there, you know. And but anyways, we had a lot of weird things that happened on the farm. I remember Dad, you know, bitching at us that you know, we didn't close the door on the barn one night, or
blamed for Bigfoot breaking in the barn. Yeah,
and you know, we get our butts chewed the next day for not telling us to close the barn door, and we thought we didn't. You know, we did. You know, and a chicken coop, you know, the door on a chicken coop, you know, be open, or just a lot of strange things, you know. At night, you summertime, late summer, early fall, you could, you know, hot summer night or whatever, you could smell that smell. And I know what it is now, you know.
Yeah.
We always thought thought it was skunks, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, it used to smell that. And well, see, on the farm there, we had a lot of apple trees, we had pear trees, plum trees, peach trees, cherry trees.
No wonder they were
there. We had grapes growing. We had. I remember Dad had a little acre of pickles that he would plant, and we used to go out there and pick the pickles and take them down to this like a service station, like a gas station, and they had this pickle sorter in there, and they would pay you money for the pickles, you know. And you would pick. That was back in the 70s, you know. It was a long time ago. But on the farm there, we had everything, you know. Cows, you know, we had cows, chickens, and pigs, and just about a little bit of everything. Back in the day, horses, and yeah, I remember one night something hit the side of the house. You know, I was just a little kid. I was upstairs. Something hit the side of the house really hard. I got up and I looked around. I couldn't see nothing outside. It was dark, and I didn't see nothing. But there was an apple tree right next to south of the house where this thing, whatever it was, hit the house hard. You know, it hit the house hard. It was almost like if a lightning struck nearby and you hear the house shake, you know?
Yeah.
After the lightning, the thunder came and hit the house. But anyways, yeah, I didn't know what that was. You know, I looked around. Everybody's sleeping, you know. Sisters, brothers, they're all sleeping. Nobody fell out of their bed, you know, or anything like that. So I didn't know what it was. I was just a little kid, late 70s, and you know, must have been about 9 years old or so, 8, 9 years old. And there'll be times where you hear that somebody like talking, but you couldn't understand it.
Right.
Kind of a thing outside.
Sounds like mumbling off in the distance or something.
Yes. And that would be around that same time, you know, in the 70s, 80s. We had all those apples and everything around the house. But you'd hear like mumbling, somebody talking, but you couldn't understand it.
Mm.
And you'd just be free. You froze there, just listening to this. You couldn't move. You're listening to this. What the heck is that out there making these noise? You know, who's talking out there? But recently, my dad, just a few years ago, said he had the same thing happen to him just a few years ago. I had told him that a few times that it had happened. He had that happen to him. He says, yeah, there's somebody out there like that, you know. You can hear them, but you didn't know what they were. He got up and didn't see nothing, you know. Like that was a weird situation. It's the same place, you know. Same house.
Did your dad believe that there's such a thing as Bigfoot?
Well, after, you know, I'd been talking about it with him and telling him our encounter that we had, and now he's starting to think back, you know, when he was a kid, somebody chopping wood in the woods and stuff like that.
Yeah, the backwoodsman.
You know, maybe, you know, maybe it is, you know, you don't know, but he's getting to the point where, you know, that, you know, they saw that tree that was the bark ripped off it and stuff, you know, what would do that, you know?
Yeah.
He was high up there ripping the bark off, and
no, that's exactly what the trees. I don't know if you ever seen the Skullcahoe video I did, where he got the giant 50 or 60 foot tall X structure made out of entire lodgepole pines. But if you look closely, where we're showing footage of that, look at the trees around it on both sides. From like 40 to 70 feet up there, there's a bunch of bark missing. all these trees around it. Not branches, just bark.
Right. That's what he had shown me that one day when we went for a ride, and he had shown me that tree, you know, and exactly what you said, you know, 30, 40 feet up, it's you know, it's all, the bark is missing, you know.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's pretty odd, and then you have it like right next to this giant, obviously synthetic structure, and you're going like, okay, these two may very well be connected.
yeah, and that's all that same area, you know, same area.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you know, back what was happening back when I was a kid. But there was a neighbor that I remember when I was a kid. I went over there. Us kids went over there. We used to hang out with their kids, and I remember going over there, and there's chicken feathers all over the yard, and dog was this. Where the heck's the dog? And what these people had was a camp for a chicken coop, and they had a dog tied up to it. Big old Malmu, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Dog, you know, on this 50-foot length chain, had it up to the, you know, hooked up to this camper. And I remember going over there. The dog would always bark at us, and we'd make sure we walk way around it, because it was a dog that you didn't want to mess around with. You know, he was a good dog, guard dog.
Mean dog, yeah.
Yeah, you know. But I remember that one day, and all the feathers all over the yard, and no dog. You know, what happened to the dog? You know. But he never said what had happened. You know. With that place, what happened? You know. But around that same time, my sister, she had rabbits. Something got underneath of the cage, ripped the cage open, and took all the rabbits. Not a rabbit left. Something went in there, took all the rabbits out of there. It's that, you know, these cages are heavy gauge wire, you know.
Right.
What could go underneath and rip it open like that, you know? It'd take all the rabbits. Where the rabbits all go, you know? They're gone, you know?
Yeah, it almost says like something with hands had to have done that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So if it was a wolf that was like ripping the cage apart with its fangs, some of the rabbits would have got away. There would have been bloody mess all over the place. Where'd the rabbits go?
Yeah, there was nothing left. Something got in there and just ripped it open. You know, it had to take a lot of strength to do that, you know. Mm-hmm. I just remember that. Oh yeah, all those rabbits gone. And my sister, just before they were gone, she had taken them to the fair and showed them, and you know, those are prized rabbits. They're gone. And it wasn't shortly after that. Yeah, we had this dog. He was part. I think he was like part Alaska Mamu and wolf, something like that. That's what the people that when we got him as a puppy said he was. Mm. But one day he was underneath this granary and he wouldn't come out. And next to the granary, to the north of it, there was this deer hide sitting out there next to the granary. Well, whatever it was scared him so much that he would not come out of this granary. What the heck? Who brought that deer hide? You know, where'd that come from? It's sitting there, and he's under there scared. And this dog was a good guard dog, you know. He yelled, bark at everything, stuff like that. But something scared him. And then a few days later, he was found 3 miles away at another farm. What the heck? How the heck did he get from our place all the way over to 3 miles away? How'd that happen? You know, he was off the collar, you know, and he was found 3 miles away at this other farm. And over on this other farm, they did some chicken butchering there, and so they left all their scraps out in this field out back there. But I have no idea how he got there, or what had made him go out there. Was he following something? Did something carry him out that way? You know, don't know. You know,
weird. Yeah,
it's
really
a mystery. Weird. It's a mystery. Yeah, there was a lot of strange things that had happened in those areas that people don't talk about. You know, about what goes on around there, because they had a lot of people just don't know what happened. You know,
right?
They're uneducated of the subject, of its behavior, what it does and stuff. You know,
you can't be hard on them. It's all guesswork at this point. You know, we're doing the best we can trying to gather the information, but certain people are not wanting us to let people know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it makes it tougher.
Back in the 70s and 80s, the neighbors' dogs would be barking at night. You know, nobody really. You know, Dad would get mad and yell out, tell the dog to shut up. Neighbor's dogs down the road. We didn't know, you know. And there used to be a hole in the side of the road where people used to throw their garbage and stuff back in there, you know. That was just right down the road. You know, there was just a hole. But the county came by and they filled it in one day and but there had to have been another site where maybe these things were visiting, you know.
Well, like I told you, I grew up about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the county dump, and that area was swarming with bears all the time because of the dump being there. It would surprise me a bit if the Bigfoot weren't around taking advantage of it.
Yeah. Right. But, I mean, just like in our little area there, you know, we had, you know, neighbors, and we had a lot of animals, and there's a lot of fruit trees, and you know, it's just they had everything. And all these farms in the area, there was drainage ditches that lead from around these farms back to the Cass River. And the Cass River led right back into the state game area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the state game area was only about 7 miles away. So if they did, you know, come up, it wouldn't take them long to get there and do what they had to do and get back right away in one night, you know.
Right.
That's not very far, really, to think about it. And they use these rivers and creeks and drainage ditches.
And travel corridors, that's like their road
yeah,
system.
They interconnect everywhere, you know.
Yep.
And back in the day, there was more woods and stuff, and yeah, they could hide a lot easier back in the day, you know. But yeah, that's what happened. I think they were using those drainage ditches to travel around to farm. Because one day, and I think it was back in 1981. My brother come in from the outside and said, "Hey, you guys gotta listen to this." I went outside, and this was like I think it was either fall time, I think it was. Anyways, he's like, "Listen to this," and there was this screaming going on down the road in this pine plantation, and every once in a while it would make this scream, and it was an odd scream, wasn't right. And the next day, I remember there's a drainage that's to the south of us, and every time it got to a certain spot, the dogs would start barking in that area as it was going from west to east. And every time I got to a certain area, the dogs in that area would start barking. Or whatever was in that plantation over there, screaming its head off, was traveling from west to east down that drainage ditch.
When the dogs start going nuts and barking like crazy, that's, they're not imagining things. They're barking at something.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you get dogs that are like barky. They'll bark at anything. Tree branch moves, they bark at it.
Yeah.
But in general, if you've got the dogs, and especially like all the dogs in the neighborhood going nuts, there's something. There's something there.
Well, yeah. It's usually, it's usually pretty quiet, but it was always at night. Or that time when that happened,
Mm-hmm.
But at nighttime, the dogs in the neighborhood would go nuts. So these things were traveling around, and these dogs knew it.
Yep.
And they were letting the owners know that those things are out there, but nobody ever knew. They just thought these dogs had a problem of barking,
Yeah, they got a barking problem. Whenever Bigfoot gets too close, they bark at him. They're just barking problem. Dog's doing his job. He's supposed to be an early warning system. You just can't take a hint. That's the problem.
Yeah, right.
All right, brother. Did you have anything else that you wanted to mention? Because clearly we're going to have you back on the show again, and you can keep us updated on what's going on over in your neck of the woods there, and get new report sightings and stuff in over there in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. You can let us know about it. But was there any other ones that you were directly involved in that you wanted to bring up?
Not right now, but yeah, we could definitely get together again someday, Duke. I appreciate you having me on the show. You do a lot of wonderful things for people. A place to go to talk about stuff like this. It's a place you don't get ridiculed about of your encounters and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on your show. And we'll talk to you later then.
You're very welcome. The honor and the pleasure of having you on the show is all mine. And I appreciate the fact that you contacted me and were willing to come on and talk about your experiences and some of the follow-up that you've done on it around that area. Because, that's where I grew up, northern Minnesota, that whole upper Midwest area, very well acquainted with it. And to me, it's just sad that, here it is, 2018, and the people over there are still so, ostriches with their heads buried in the sand going, there's no such thing as Bigfoot. Sorry, folks, there is such a thing as Bigfoot. They live over there. Wake up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely, people are listening out here. Don't be shy to come and, talk to some of these people that like Duke here, it helps, I mean, it does great, it helped me out. It's therapy, believe me. So,
and even if you don't want to come on the show, I still would like to hear your story. And it adds to the body of knowledge that we have. Like the one little detail that we got during the show tonight that I've never heard anywhere else before is somebody actually witnessing a Bigfoot harvesting grain, right off the stalk, eating it. Uh-huh. That's the sort of details that you get from people, even like a basic schmasic encounter, you don't think there's anything to it. There could be some really important little detail in there that we're going to get from that encounter. So it's worth it to share any encounter that you've had, any kind of Bigfoot-related experience, because all of that information, we put it together and we get a clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer picture of what they're up to, what they do, and how they go about doing it. And without all of those, first-hand encounter sightings and whatnot, we wouldn't hardly know anything about these things. They're incredibly difficult to pin down and get information on. They don't want to talk to you and do an interview. They hide from you, So This is like probably the worst critter on earth to try and do research on because they're actively avoiding you as much as they possibly can, and they're smart. So it makes it really, really difficult. So for people like me that are sort of on the borderline there in between being interested in investigating this whole thing and digging up all the information that I can and providing people with a platform where they can come and talk about their encounters and share them and stuff, we just wouldn't get very far if we didn't have people that were willing to come forward and share what's happened to them and tell us what their eyewitness encounters were like and what happened to them. That's what, moves things forward, and people having a willingness to share that information, whether it's like on a show or just, tell somebody about it. It really helps things. And the more people that know about this, the lower the ridicule factor is going to be. So you're helping everybody else in the future too, because, they get bombarded with so many Bigfoot things from so many different angles, it's going to become at some point impossible for them to just close their eyes and go, nah, it's not happening. When everybody else around them is going, Bigfoot this, Bigfoot that. Hey, I saw Bigfoot when I was a kid.
Right.
And maybe it's just got to get to that saturation level before people will actually be able to, open their eyes and go, okay, let's take a real look at the data.
Just like in Tuscola County alone, there's only 40 reports in that county over the past few years, and nobody talks about it, Nobody talks about it.
No, there's some areas where it's like, there's 40 reports on it. Let me give you an example. According to the BFRO database, there's only a little bit over 40 reports of Bigfoot in Montana. So if you don't report it and report it to the specific person that's, of course, documenting it, their database, then, of course, there's no reports there. No matter how many sightings there may have been. There's hundreds of sightings in Montana. People aren't reporting them.
They had estimated there might be over 1,200 reports in Michigan alone or more. People just
That's what I'm saying.
Don't say anything.
Yeah. And the higher the ridicule factor is in a certain area, the lower the report numbers are going to be.
Right.
And in this area, that isn't the case. The case here is the sort of indifference. It's why they're living here in the first place are Montanans. They kind of don't care if the outside world knows or believes that Bigfoot's real. They'll know. Who cares what they think? And that tends to be, apparently from what I've gathered, the same sort of attitude up in Alaska. It's like almost all the locals outside of the cities know that Bigfoot's real, and so what? And they just don't talk about it. So,
yeah.
It's like, we're not going to tell the outside world. Some of those screwballs might show up and want to research it or something, and then they'll come up here and infest Alaska. Don't tell them. Ain't
that true though, huh?
Yeah, it's really weird. You've got the areas where it's like, there's no Bigfoot, nobody believes in that, and then you've got the other areas where everybody knows it's real and they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, that's kind of like some of the areas where I grew up. There's a lot of reports in those areas, but there's a lot of people just just blow it off and don't even talk about it, and it's kind of like some in these areas that they have a lot of encounters. It's just another normal everyday life event that goes on. It's just another thing, and it's just, people just don't talk about it because it's happening all the time.
That's apparently what it's like up there where Grizz lives, up in northwestern Montana, where it's like, how'd your day go today? I saw a moose on the way to work. What happened to you? Bigfoot was right in my garbage can. Oh, really? Average day, huh? Yeah. Just that sort of thing. And of course, that is one of the areas where it's limited, but there still is some logging going on up there. So then there's all the lumberjacks up there that have all kinds of stories too. And I'm going to be having one of those on the show here shortly. Who's actually Grizz's son-in-law, lumberjack, and he's had some Bigfoot-related stuff to tell us about. So there's another example. It's like they all know what's going on. They're just not talking about it usually.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And they call them timber apes, the lumberjacks up there. Them darn timber apes. So that's their name for them. They've got their own name for them, yeah.
That's what they call them up there?
That's what the lumberjacks call them. They call them timber apes.
Nothing wrong with the lumberjacks.
Yeah, exactly. It's been going on for hundreds of years. The darn timber apes keep messing with them all the time. Well, we're running low on time, brother, so we got to cut her short for this episode, but we'll definitely set up to have you back here in the future, and you can collect some more data from around the area that you're in and share it with everybody. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. You've probably gathered at this point, I'm setting up sort of correspondents in certain regions of the country and other parts of the world that are interested in this, that are going to be paying attention to what's going on in their area, whether they have any contact with me or not. and then have them on the show every so often to update everybody else what's going on in their part of the world. So this way, in regular rotation, we'll be getting around everywhere every so often and get updates on it. And I've already been doing that with Caveman down there in New Mexico. He sort of covers that right around his house in that area and keeps us up to date on what's going on down there. Got Jack down in Australia to do that. So he's going to start doing reports from up in Alaska. So join the little club. Get on board.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, Big D, thanks for showing up. Thanks for telling us all about all your encounters and sharing your experiences with us, man. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody out there just had a great time listening to it.
Yeah, my pleasure there. Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show again. So I'll definitely try to get back on here with you and see what else we can conjure up and talk about.
No problem, brother. Yeah, if I get any on the ground reports from over there, you can be boots on the ground and go investigate them too, and that'll be handy. Because that kind of weird stuff does come up where somebody will be on the other side of the country and go, blah, 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 this is going on right now. And I'm like, I don't know anybody over there that I can send to go out there and take a picture or something. Sorry. So this sort of does help things a lot, actually. It would have been handy if we would have had a team that was available over there in Indiana apparently earlier this summer, see previous episode. But didn't know anybody like that, didn't know anybody that I could send to help them. Lynn had to give them advice and let them fly on their own, and they did good. But, more networking equals more safety. That's my opinion. And,
there you go.
And on that note, everybody be kind to everybody else. Help people as much as you can. Safety first, last, and always. And whatever you do, God help you. Do not pet or hug the Wookiee. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you soon.